Hello there, my fellow Battlefrontians. What's up? It's Robbie here with Star Wars HQ, and we are taking a look at exclusive, never-before-seen images of new maps from Star Wars Battlefront 2, plus going over all new details about gameplay mechanics, multiplayer, and even single-player. So since this is such a very big and special video, I have broken it down into several sections, the new clips and maps and artworks I've seen behind the scenes at Star Wars Celebration. That's going to be first. The new multiplayer details, and finally single player. So what you can do is skip ahead by using the timestamps in the description below. So if you just want to know about multiplayer, you can click a link and you can find out about that very quickly. So guys, let us begin right now. So what we have here are some brand new amazing shots of locations we will be traveling to in Battlefront 2. So here's your first look at Mos Eisley, which will be centered around the Cantina and elsewhere. It looks amazing and very intense, and very much a CQC street battle map. And for those of you that were begging for Mos Eisley in the first Battlefront, it's finally here. And of course, don't forget about Kamino. Here's some new artworks. First up, we have a shot of our clone troopers getting into the fray with the help of their jump packs, plus Boba Fett's Slave One. And get this, we can see the Republic attack gunship in the background, so it appears confirmed for the game in some way. Will it be a co-op vehicle? Not too sure about that one. And back to the jump packs, it has been confirmed that they will not be as prevalent as in Battlefront 1, that not everyone can use them all at once, so in some way they will be limited, maybe to a class we will be finding out. And yes, Kamino will be home to some dogfighting, as we can see here, Boba Fett's Slave One going at it with Obi-Wan's fighter, and of course it looks like these will be all upgradable, all the vehicles and stuff like that. More on that later, but this is going to be absolutely fantastic to experience for sure. Also, we all know that Naboo Theed will be appearing, but guys, here's some brand new amazing concept art showing a once beautiful city torn by war. We can clearly see a downed starfighter in the middle of the city, which of course you can use for cover, so this one is going to be one heck of a map to battle on. Then of course we have the new map art for Yavin 4 showing off the rebel base and hangar with X-Wings prepping for battle. Looks like a fun place to engage the enemy, whatever side you are on. Plus we have a more temple swampy area here as our stormtroopers head into the unknown. And yes, it looks like we're going to be headed back to Jakku on a downed Star Destroyer. As you can see here, some footage shows off the interior of what appears to be the Star Destroyer. It looks like it's slanting, so that's very cool. But also, this map will support air units by this concept art, so it looks like you're going to be running for that. And yes, it will be making an appearance in single player, and it looks like Iden's ship, the Raider, will be playing a big part in the battle above the desert planet. But the biggest question is this: is it going to be something you can actually control? That is something I'm hoping for. That would be freaking epic. And take a look at our brand new planet unique to Battlefront 2, dubbed Vardos. This is likely going to be appearing in big ways in both multiplayer and single player. This is also Iden's home planet. And take a look at this shot here. This is a behind the scenes look at them developing the maps and the terrain. But you'll notice the color of the water and the beaches. It's definitely reminiscent of Kashyyyk. So it could end up being a map we travel to, although I'm just speculating on that one. But man, it really does kind of remind me of Kashyyyk. How cool would it be to experience the Wookiee homeworld? And here we can see what appears to be our droid that will assist the protagonist Iden in the single player campaign. But get this, it looks like the droid could be fully playable. We knew that you could upgrade the droid and use it for certain things, but it looks like you will be playing around with it in third person. Next up in this shot, it definitely has that Takodana feel to it as well. So it would be cool to see that type of Episode 7 map appearing. Imagine Rey and Kylo Ren going at it on Takodana. And guys, here's EA Motive discussing all things Star Wars Battlefront 2, more specifically the single player. And we've got Mitch Dyer, who is going to be helping out with the writing for the single player. And of course, Walt Williams is also tag teaming with Mitch. And get this, Walt Williams actually wrote Spec Ops: The Line, which should excite you because that game was expertly written and a lot of you are big fans of it. So yeah, it's looking really good for the single player. Alright guys, let's get into the new gameplay details about hero classes, vehicles, gunplay, and so much more. Let's just begin here. So For the heroes, they're going to be moving away from pickups and randomized things. There's a more skill-based system to obtaining your hero, who can be upgraded over time. DICE is dubbing this as a career system for their multiplayer. They want this for every aspect, including soldiers, vehicles, and the heroes. And they've also reworked the hero combat system from the ground up. It's a lot more physical, and for example, heroes' reactions to force push and powers are more improved. They're going to go flying and stuff like that. Now, DICE has also changed the way players get access to these heroes in multiplayer. So instead of power-ups, it's going to be a resource-based system whereby doing things in-game, you unlock the ability to change to a hero or a vehicle or something else. So it looks like you're going to have options with this system as well. It's not just going to be limited to heroes. So that's really cool. Also, about those vehicles, they do have mods, abilities, and gadgets of their own, and the devs want them to have the same personality that the hero characters do. Hero vehicles are also treated like ground-based soldiers and heroes in that they can also be upgraded with new abilities. So as you can see, space battles will be heavily supported in Battlefront 2 as Criterion Games, the masterminds behind such games as Burnout and Need for Speed, have overhauled the space dogfighting. Now, a lot of you were wondering, can you finally land a starfighter? Can you just hop into it from the ground? Well, it looks like that system is not going to be in play here. It's most likely going to work like Battlefield 1, where you spawn in the air to prevent spawn camping, so expect that one. But what about that gunplay? Well, it's still approachable like Battlefront 1. The learning curve is deeper this time around, though, so that's pretty good news. And there will be a difference between ADS fire, that's aim down sight, and hip fire. Unlike Battlefront 1, where you could just run around and do whatever, and the fire mechanics never changed. Even if you were rolling, jumping, whatever, it looks like it's going to be a little bit more detailed here, but it's not going to be too overly hardcore. Now, what about the star card system? Will we be seeing that returning in tandem with the class as well? They felt that it was somewhat successful, and if they do return, it would be dubbed Star Cards 2.0, and they would do something new and different with it. Do you guys want to see something return with star cards? And of course, jump packs cannot be used by all classes this time. They have more details to come on how they can be used, and pickups will return like rockets and orbital strikes. So that's something I did enjoy, is fighting over those pickups, and I'm glad they have done that. There will be, of course, 4 classes separated into roles like Assault, Heavy, Specialist, and Officer. So expect to really choose your class, and maybe jump around classes dependent on the map situation. And some vehicles are going to be power-ups this time around. Now, also, a lot of you were wondering, what about cross-era play like Clone Wars versus Original Trilogy? And they said that they are not ruling that out. They are looking into that as a possibility. And what about playing as unique characters like Geonosians? This was something that was unique to Battlefront. There were, a lot of different characters that were roaming around, creatures and stuff like that. Well, yes, there will be unique creatures and characters roaming around, dependent on the map, of course. Can you play as them? That's unknown. It would be really cool if you could play as some of these factions, maybe, somehow. Perhaps that could be through this resource system that they have for the heroes and vehicles and stuff like that. Who knows? But yeah, it'd be really cool to, of course, run into some Geonosians, maybe some Wampas on Hoth, stuff like that. So hopefully all of that makes it into the game. There will also be a lot of cool dynamic things that happen on the maps. It'll be similar to Battlefield in that fashion. You will see many characters in the game that can be interacted with, and they can also be ridden into battle. Now, this was my big question to the devs over there at DICE and EA Motive. I said, and Criterion, of course, I asked them, will we see rolling return in some way? Yes, rolling will return, and it will be better and different, but it's going to return in some way. I'm not too sure what that means. Will it be limited to one class, like an agility type thing? Who knows? How would you guys like to see rolling return in Battlefront? Oh, by the way, there will be more tanks in the game. They're going to be capturing the authentic experience based on maps and factions, so yes, Rebels will not get tanks, it seems. I was kind of bummed about this. I was hoping they would break the canon rules and have Rebels with tanks. That would have been cool to have tank versus tank warfare. But they're really into embracing diversity in the factions and the maps and telling a story on those maps. And yeah, will we be seeing full-on destruction for the environments? This is not going to be a focus for Star Wars Battlefront 2. They plan to keep it pretty much the same as Battlefront 1. But we will be getting more team play mechanics like squads possibly. They're still developing this stuff, but yes, they're very much wanting to focus on team play. What about customization? Yes, there will be some way to customize classes and their actual appearance. This is something that is extremely important. I'm wanting to unlock some different looks to my clone troopers, and I really do hope they go all in with this for sure. Now, Mandalorians could possibly make it into the game. This is something that we're a little bit sketchy about, but they need to be different than Boba Fett, heroes, and soldiers. They need to be unique. So it's a concept that they are very open to. And a lot of you complained previously about Battlefront 1 about that white menu screen. The interface was kind of like straining your eyes. Well, the white copybook look is no more, and they are going to be going with a more Star Wars holographic feel to the menu. I cannot wait to see what this menu looks like. I really want to see when you go into the map the doot 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 from the original Battlefronts. That's something I really want to see. I've told them that a billion times. And then also, emotes will be returning in Star Wars Battlefront 2. That's something I really enjoyed, messing with the enemy, doing a fist pump in my personal shield. So, that was fun. But what about the modes? What can we expect? Well, DICE really wants to focus on those massive 40-player modes that are super popular from the first games. It's pretty much what we stayed in, was like Walker's Salt, Turning Point, and Supremacy. That's pretty much what everyone played. But they also learned that people really appreciate the smaller scale intimate modes, so expect them in the game as well. They aren't going to be neglecting those. And also, if you're wondering, there will be more than 8 maps in the final game. The final map count, has not been nailed down just yet. Heroes versus Villains modes will be returning in some way, and they will be different, but no firm details about that just yet. And according to DICE and EA Motive, there will be light stories in multiplayer modes based around each map. So it seems like you're going to be partaking in some sort of story related to the maps, and it's going to be unique for each map. Cannot wait for that one. And we will be seeing 40 players max player count for multiplayer, which I think worked for Battlefront 1. They really don't need to overdo it any more than that. And yes, there's going to be full-on co-op. Co-op will be very different from the first game. And, you know, previously Nicholas Fergay, creative director of Battlefront 2, said that fans should expect something similar to Skirmish Mode to return, of course, and evolve as they learned from their audience with Battlefront 1. So, yeah, it sounds like Skirmish Mode could end up being deeper here. Cannot wait to see what they reveal with that down the road. What about the DLC? Well, yes, they did learn from the DLC from the previous game. I always felt like they were really messing around with that and experimenting. So the best things from those DLCs are going into this game. They are very passionate, by the way, about supporting the game post-launch. But that does not mean we will be getting a Season Pass. In fact, it looks like we will not be getting a Season Pass structure. But what does that mean? We will be finding out a little bit later. It looks like we will be getting something very cool. Hopefully, some free DLC. They really want to focus on keeping players together, as they told us all, which was fantastic to hear. Now on to those single-player details. So single-player is centered around Iden and Inferno's squad. She will get her own drone that can be fully upgraded. You will also be traveling to her home planet, Vardos, to visit her family, including her father, who is a high-ranking general within the Imperial forces. But what about her mother? Well, she handled developing and giving out propaganda for the Empire. Now, Inferno Squad members will have different abilities. You can't give them orders, though, but they will always be around you. This is so cool, and it kind of reminds me of Ghost Recon Wildlands. But what about heroes? You will be playing heroes like Luke and Kylo and witnessing Iden at all times. You can customize blasters for your play style in single player, and there is a deep single player progression system. But unfortunately, the campaign is not playable in co-op. Maybe that's actually a good thing. Sometimes single player is meant to be single player and enjoyed in that way. Now, the single player does start at the Battle of Endor, as we saw, and works all the way up to Starkiller Base and spans 30 years. This one is going to be quite interesting and something else. And Iden will be given a droid buddy in single player that has his own abilities. We saw that previously, and it looks like you can play with it in third person. Yeah, and more into that single player progression system. You will be able to customize your weapons, gadgets, and abilities. Now, you don't have to complete the single-player campaign or play it to unlock cool stuff in multiplayer, of course, so that is good news. And there's going to be a lot of connections to comic book material, books, and other Star Wars media, so they really want to tie it all together very well. And gameplay actually has a more open sandbox feel to it in single-player. I'm hoping that it feels a lot like Halo. I'm a huge fan of Halo, and I think they always nail down their single-player pretty much for the most part. And the story has elements of choice. Now, they could not expand on this anymore, but this one has my interest piqued. I'm very curious to see what this means. And if you're wondering about the music, they have used the London Symphony Orchestra. Very good news. Expect some high-quality music in there. So yeah, guys, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is shaping up to be absolutely amazing. Stay tuned here to Star Wars HQ for more details about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, we are giving away a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 2, so if you do hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment down below, you are automatically enrolled for a chance to win a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 2. Thank you guys so much for the immense support lately. It is very exciting to see what EA and DICE and the other teams, EA Motive and Criterion Games, are doing with Battlefront as a franchise. They're giving it the ultimate love it feels. I cannot wait to actually get my hands on this one. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you later, and may the Force be with you always.